there. I know this is a little bit of a change up. You're not used to seeing me in these videos, or at least not front facing. I generally prefer to be the guy behind the camera. But I thought I'd make an exception for today's video because it is a special one. If you're watching it, it means that I have in fact sold the 59 Cadillac. Yeah, hard to believe for me too. I've had it up kind of soft for sale just listed it on Facebook Marketplace. I didn't put it on any of the other, more professional type sites like Bring a Trailer or such. I just kind of wanted to see what the market was, and ended up keeping it pretty much the whole winter. And now winter is officially done. It's still pretty cold here in Indiana, but buds on the trees and flowers coming up, so it's starting to feel like spring. But yeah, just thought I'd talk a little bit about it. Was not expecting to sell this car. Was not expecting ever to sell this car. I'm the sort of guy that when I buy a classic car, I'm intending to keep it forever. I've had my 69 Mustang for going on 27 years. I've even had the truck just for 2.5 now, but I don't intend to ever get rid of the truck. My thing is I love old cars, and I fall in love with particular years, makes, and models. Like I always fell in love with the 69 Mustang Fastback. I would never have gotten a convertible or a coupe, just because it's not what thrills me. And same thing with the Cadillac. The Cadillac, the coupes are and the convertibles are much more popular, much more valuable too than the four-door sedans. But I always like the sedans. I prefer the sedans. To me, they've got a little bit more of that limousine look, luxury look. The roof line is actually higher. I think that's one of the reasons people really like the coupes, is the roof line is lower, so it's just so sleek. Seems very, for 1959, so modern and sleek and cool. But I always like the four-door sedans. So when I was looking around, I didn't even consider a coupe. I just wanted to get the four-door. But I have to be truthful. I really got in over my head with the Cadillac. Maybe because I had done a complete resto on the Mustang, and the Mustangs are just so much exponentially easier to restore, just because they made so many of them comparatively. And as a result, there's a whole huge aftermarket parts market, people making reproduction new parts. You can practically build a 69 Mustang from the ground up just with reproduction parts. So everything's cheaper, easier, everyone knows how to work on them. It was so easy to get the Mustang redone. 10 months, I think, was in the shop. And that was even with there being like some long delays because of some stuff going on with the mechanic's family. But yeah, and here I am with this Cadillac. It's funny, if you want to go back to the beginning of this playlist and play #1 video, I still laugh at it, where I talk about in that video of like, yeah, maybe in a year or so I'll get the paint and body done on this car. Well, here it is, 9.5 years later. That's how long I've owned the Cadillac, 9.5 years. Still haven't gotten, well, let's put it this way. I got to the point where I was ready to do the paint and body. I had the money saved up. I had scoped out a couple or 3 good body shops, well regarded around here in the Indianapolis area. And I kind of reached that point mentally, fiscally, like, okay, I'm ready. And then I suddenly thought about it from an emotional standpoint and was like, you know what? I don't think I want to keep this car. I don't think I want to keep this car forever. Once I reached that kind of realization where I admitted that to myself, that, hey, I don't really want to keep this car forever, then it became a matter of, well, why am I keeping the car? And why would I pay, $25,000, $30,000 for a good exterior resto, bodywork, paint, get some of the chrome redone, and get it up to that next level, that like maybe not quite, show car level, certainly not like concours level, but a really, really nice car that I would take to shows and things like that. Well, guess what? I already take this car to shows, and I already enjoy it. And it already gets lots of thumbs up and attention, and people love looking at it. Even with the rusty rockers, even with the chrome pitted in places, it's still a great looking car. It's so much fun to drive. And the thing is, once you have made the emotional decision of, I don't want to keep this car, then it becomes more of a mental dollars calculation. Where I literally say, like, okay, I could spend 25 grand or so on this car, but I'm not going to then sell it for 25 more of the value. Like, the value of the car would not go up by 25 grand. If I was lucky, it would go up by maybe 12. Probably would have had an easier time selling it, because what I found is that you just run into so many people that don't really know anything about old cars. They just see it posted like, wow, I've always loved those. I'd love to have one of them. But they really don't understand what's involved in buying and owning and maintaining a classic car. It's a hobby. It's not transportation. I hear people who actually daily drive their old cars, but those are typically people who have a lot of mechanical skills. So when something goes wrong, they can just fix it themselves. Probably one of my favorite YouTubers doing that is Adventures with Edna. If you want to go check out his channel, it's really cool. And he really does it. He's got a 49 or 50 Ford F1 that he daily drives. His name is also Chris. But yeah, that's obviously not for me, at least not at this stage. I don't have that kind of mechanical skill. I don't have the time. I don't have the facilities. So then it came down to selling it. Like I said, I kind of just almost on a whim threw it up on Facebook Marketplace back in November. Just like I said, I'm testing the market. I want to see what it would bring. I put an asking price on there that I didn't just pull it out of my rear end. I actually asked a couple of experts, people who deal and buy and sell old Cadillacs, and they said, I think it's about this much, but we're going into winter, which up north means less. Just people don't look to buy things, big things, houses, vehicles in the winter, because it's hard to move them around, store them and all that. And the market was just a little soft right now. So it's like, here's the value of the car, but you're probably not going to get that. Well, I ended up selling the car for, honestly, way less than I wanted to. Honestly, if you told me at the start of the process, like, Chris, you will end up selling it for this amount, I'd be like, absolutely no way I would ever have accepted an offer that low. But it kind of becomes a proposition of, value versus dollars, value versus price. That's a great lesson I learned when I was working with some like CPA and business buyers. There's the price of the thing, which doesn't necessarily reflect the value of the thing. And you can't always try and get those mixed up. And, I'm at a stage in my life, like when I bought the Mustang, I had, 3 nickels to rub together. I probably should not have bought that car in the financial position I was back in my 20s, but I did. It ended up working out okay. Now I'm a lot older, moved on up in my career and so forth. So, can afford to do more things. Very blessed in that way, very fortunate, very grateful. So honestly, it came down to a difference of like, maybe like $3,000 between what I was wanting to sell it for and what I'm going to end up selling it for. And I just had to ask myself the question of, did I want to go ahead and just, is it worth $3,000 to me to not sell the car now and hope that I can sell it for more later? It wasn't. I was like, I'd rather give up that $3,000 or whatever it was to have the car gone, because again, if people saw my earlier video, I actually had an appointment at one of the big resto places here in the greater Indianapolis area, the Car Vault. They do really high-end work there, probably honestly higher end than the sort of cars that I drive. You know, show cars, you know, series cars that are in magazines, that kind of stuff. But I had an appointment for it to go in there, and the idea was, it was a good way to kind of set myself a deadline of, if I don't sell the car by that date, then it goes into the shop, probably stays there for a few months, gets that body work taken care of. The idea was I was at least going to get all the rusty parts replaced, and probably just black primer them, and then try and resell it in the late summer or fall, with obviously a better price. Probably still wouldn't have recouped my money. Like, obviously I wouldn't have been spending that much as a full resto. It was still, you know, some thousands of dollars, and I doubt I would have increased the value by that same amount. So I hate to say it, it just kind of came down to dollars and cents, but cents in the SE and SE case, because I ended up deciding that it made more sense to sell it now than it did to have that little bit of extra money. And so what comes next? Who knows? I want to go ahead, of course, immediately get into another car, another old car. My wife is definitely having different ideas about that. So I don't think that's going to be happening, at least not anytime soon. But people ask me, like, well, now that you're selling, that means that, like, you failed or you gave up, whatever. I don't know. I guess you can say that if you want. The truth is, things change. Things change in life, in your situation. And I don't regret buying this car. I don't regret owning this car. I don't even regret all the money I've dumped into this car. Because money, in the end, and this is a very privileged thing to say, but money is just a way to measure the ability to do things. And for some people, you know, they barely have enough of it just to get by. So I understand that. I believe me, I was there for many, many years in my youth. But I don't regret any of it. I don't regret the money. I don't regret the time. I learned a lot. I was able to go on this journey with the car. Really enjoyed driving it. This is going to be, well, I guess other than when the gentleman who's buying it test drive it, with my last cruise in it. So just taking it and enjoy it a little bit, reflecting. And what do I have at the end of this journey with this car? I have appreciation. I have love. I still love these cars. They're amazing cars. The engineering on them, it was so ahead of its time in 1959. So regrets, I have none. Love in my heart, very much so. We'll be sad to see this car go, but everything in life has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this is the end of this car and I journeying together. Thanks for watching, and go find your dream car. Thanks.
Handsome girl.